You know what I mean. You can feel the excitement, the tension, the charisma that surrounds that stadium every Saturday afternoon, especially 10 to 14 minutes before kickoff when a hush settles over that stadium and we all anxiously wait for that simple forward command to emanate out of the PA system. I can hear it now. Band take the field, and out of that eastern tunnel pour 215 well-drilled, well-disciplined Michigan bandsmen. They pour over the eastern sideline, they form the big block M, and they play the greatest college fight song ever written, the Michigan Victors.
And it runs Howard Beckler, but it's a little look at that. Oh my goodness. One man. Goodbye.
He runs Woodson all the way back to the 22-yard line. Woodson's got one block. And another block. One more. Touchdown. No flag.
Here's Henny back to throw. Henny looking. And he's firing on a post cut. Edwards has it. 10, 5, touchdown. Well, that's the guy they've been picking on, Jaron Hayes, and Braylon Edwards has his third touchdown grab of the game.
He's going to throw for it. He's got to throw it to the end zone. Lobs it up. One-on-one. Cut. Michigan touchdown. I can't believe this. Rory Roundtree.
No man is more important than the team. No coach is more important than the team. The team, the team, the team.
Welcome to another edition of the Gulo. And now, here are the Larrabee boys, Zach and Kyle.
Welcome to this late week episode, an edition of the Gulo, and we have a very special guest with us here today. His name is Dan May. He's one of the biggest diehard Michigan fans that I know, and what makes it great is he lives in the state of South Carolina with me. So as we are 800 and so miles away from the big house in Ann Arbor, we get to continue to share this love and this joy of Michigan football that we have together. And so I'm super excited to have you on, man. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Zach. Thanks for having me on here. I've been watching since day one, which was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see where you guys are going with this.
Yeah, man, we're excited. This is a newly birthed show, and I think the fun thing about this is we're all brainwashed Michigan fans. I mean, I think we're brainwashed because we grew up during the end of a very golden, sweet era of Michigan football that had lasted for decades upon decades since Bo rose this university up from the grave, basically. And then we just hit like a super dark spot in Michigan sports, really Michigan football. And so I think we're brainwashed in a good sense of we know where we can get back to. But so anyways, this show is just about us exploring our love for Michigan football and being able to live it out with other Michigan fans, happy times and sad times. So But why don't you go ahead? Speaking of brainwash and speaking of memories and things that make us great Michigan fans, why don't you share with us a little bit of the love that you have for Michigan, the University of Michigan, especially Michigan football?
Yeah, so being born in Michigan, I was born in Southfield, so no judgment that I'm a downriver kid. But you're born into being maize and blue, right? So as long as I can remember, my dad or my uncles or my grandfather telling me about the Bo days, and then experiencing the Lloyd Carr days, where you're out back, and your brother touched on this, where you pretend to be Anthony Thomas, or for me it was always the receivers. So whether it was David Terrell, man, I love David Terrell, and then it went to Braylon Edwards to Mario Manningham, always the guys who wore that number one. I thought that was so special. and then you just learn to appreciate the tradition of it, right? There's just nothing better about the uniforms basically staying the same, about us arguing about putting a Jordan label on the Michigan uniforms, whatever it is. We love the tradition, and you know, being a Michigan fan, we talked about this. We're all the way down in South Carolina, and here we are celebrating Michigan, still arguing about what was the best moments of Michigan. Is Harbaugh the guy? So, you know, starting all the way back from the A-Train days to the shoelace days, where we had Denard Robinson, who was just absolutely electric and helped us through those dark days of Rich Rodriguez and Brady Hoke.
Man, those were some rough days, but again, I'm glad for people like Denard Robinson and even Devin Gardner. I think even though he didn't turn out, I guess, as on a national level is what we expected. Watched him in high school, watched him win a state championship at Inkster, and it was just cool to have some of those moments during that dark age for those players to really just keep our happiness there, even though we knew we weren't in great times. I mean, Denard Robinson, man, was just phenomenal to watch. It brought us to 11-2 season during a time to where we were just a program down in the dumps. And but I love that you talk about tradition. I see the winged helmet on your shirt. I have a little replica helmet right here. There's just nothing like it, man. Like I love college football. I love everybody's traditions. You know, Becky and I traveled up to NC State last year and watched a Clemson NC State game. I love going to see the way that people live their college football love out. But man, there's just nothing like the University of Michigan. It's just so special. And I think it's because you have the history that, you know, fielding H. Yost coming in the early 1900s and coming from Stanford, coming from California, coming from a place to where college football was big. And then he takes Michigan to an even higher level than that, the early 1900s, and just continue to build off. And then, like you said, all those great receivers, Mario Manningham. I remember when I was a little kid and he came through. I remember when he was a freshman, he walked it off from Chad Henne against Penn State. He had Arrington, who was who was really number 3 receiver, but still a great receiver. Just so many people, so many big names. You talk about these different moments and stuff. What was the biggest Michigan moment for you that really – I know you talk about A-Train and stuff, but what was that one Michigan moment that solidified you as a kid of like, I love this university?
Yeah, so it was once again, it was a David Terrell moment. I believe it was the Outback Bowl where he ended up winning the MVP and just lighting it up. And just reminded me, you know, and then, you know, hearing the history of the number 1 and how important that is as a wideout really entrenched me. I think I was 10 or 11 years old. And that just, you know, solidified the fact that this is going to be part of my life one way or the other, whether I went to Michigan or not. And then even as an adult, you know, like one of my favorite memories with my dad, it's a sad moment for Michigan, was the drop punt against Michigan State. And the reason that I will always cherish that moment, because unlike your brother, my brother is a big Sparty fan.
Oh man,
my brother, yeah.
Oh,
so
were you guys in the same room together?
Luckily, no. My brother was in Florida.
Okay.
But my dad was watching the game with me, and we're like, here we go. This is the turnaround. And of course, we know what happens with the drop fumble and return for a touchdown. The part that I'll never forget, though, is my dad just got up, grabbed his keys, and just left. Didn't say a word to me, and just went home. and it just, for me, that was the bookend of the bad days of Michigan. Because I truly feel like we're back rising up, and we've got one last thing to do, and that's to handle that team down south.
Dude, that's right, man. That disgusting team. Whenever I went up to go to Cincinnati with my wife Becky, her family are huge Cincinnati Reds fans, and it's a great city. I mean, I don't even count it as Ohio; I count it as Northern Kentucky. It makes me feel better about going there, but it really is this really historic, neat town. But I'm always like, man, I know where the interstate's going, and I'm like, we can't go any further than this because I can start feeling the radiation from Columbus, and I just do not like that place at all. And you're right, that is the last thing that we need to take care of, because Michigan is a team that wins Big Ten championships. And It's harder to win Big Ten championships in 2020 with the way that the conferences are set up, and it's not just picking the best team or whatever, and the best two teams maybe share a title. You have to go through Ohio State, and you have to go to the Big Ten championship, and you have to win it. And Michigan has been close a couple times, a couple bad calls, a bad game by quarterback, by the name of O'Korn. Great dude, I hear, great guy, but just really tore up that game for us. And but I think you're right.
JT Barrett was short.
He was short, and that'll always two things we'll always state in these episodes is 1, 58, 51, and 6. That's just the truth. Ohio State fans, you can't get over it. You're losers until the day you pass us. And the other thing is JT was short. You guys got super lucky on that. And but going back to that Michigan State game, man, I remember my brother and I were eating chili in the living room, and in the living room, and it was a crisp day, even in Columbia. That's where he lives at. It was kind of cooler out, and he just said, "Man, I have a bad feeling. Like I don't think something's going to go right here." And I was like, "What are you talking about? All we have to do is just get the snap and punt away. We win the game." He's like, "I'm telling you, Zach, something doesn't feel right." And when that happened, and I just hear those words in my head, he had trouble with the snap. It just brings back bad memories. So I'm right there with you. And but you know what? I think the look on Mark D'Antonio's face said it all. He knew that the future wasn't bright for him. As soon as they
because what happened the very next year?
We blew
Devin
the brakes
Bush
off of
stomp on. Yeah. Oh my goodness, I love that. That's my favorite gift to send to my brother. Is Devin Bush just stomping on the
stomping
logo?
on the Spartan logo. Yeah. It's beautiful, man. We took care of him in 2016. We had the stupid monsoon game in 2017, which again, O'Korn, nothing you can do about our quarterback situation. We should very easily be 5-0 against Michigan State, but I'm still happy to be 3-2 against them. I'm under the Harbaugh era. I'm still happy that they sent D'Antonio out last year, a loser. And when he puts that thing on Twitter a couple days ago, Spartan Nation, it's not over. It'll never be over. For you, man, it's over. Like, you lost bad. Yep. And even on the behind the curtains scenes of the organization, it just doesn't look good. And so, but dude, David Terrell, man, I think the first moments of Michigan football I remember, because I'm a couple years younger than you, but the first moments of Michigan football I remember was in the Orange Bowl. Tom Brady, David Terrell, I think it was like 4 touchdowns that they both connected between the two of them, and against Alabama, and winning that game. And so for me, I think that was my introduction of Michigan football, and just seeing them victorious, seeing them with the winged helmet, with Lloyd Carr and Tom Brady, which obviously we didn't know what he was going to become then. But dude, I love it, man. And then everything from not just on the field, but off the field. You go walk around Ann Arbor, and it's the best college town. It's the best. You have 115 people that reside there, and you have 115 plus people that can fit in the stadium. Doesn't get any better.
No, and I've shared this story with you before. Is when I was 12 years old, 12, 13 years old, and being able to sneak out onto the big house field and playing on that with my cousins is, just to get that feeling of what it's like to have 115 plus thousand people looking down on you. It's incredible.
And you got to stand on a field that back in 1927, Fielding H. Yost was like, I want a whole dog in a farm, and I want it to fit 130,000 people. Now, obviously, we're only 15,000 short of that, but people didn't believe it to be true. And look at us now, almost 100 years later, and 100 plus years out, that Michigan football has been around, 144 years, I think. It was just beautiful. You got to stand on the field. You got to stand on the field that Charles Woodson ran and punt back to send us to the national championship. You got to stand on the field that Anthony Carter caught a last-second touchdown against Indiana, and you can hear Bob Ufer in the background, and this crowd's going crazy. Like, dude, you got to stand on a very historical field.
Yeah, and let me tell you, with the recycled tire turf that they have, it makes me understand when you think that guys bounce off the field, they truly bounce. It's super springy. It's a really cool experience.
Man, that's
thank
awesome.
you to whatever janitor that was that let us go out there.
Whatever it was. When was that? Probably 2003, 2004, something like that.
Yeah.
Like back in those days, dude, it didn't matter. Now it's you have double gates, can't get through anything. But that's cool, man. I'm excited to go back there. Again, love Ann Arbor, love the big house, but now we're moving on to 2020, and this has been a super crazy year, pandemic year. I'm just glad that we have football now. We have Big Ten football, and more specifically that we have Michigan football. So before we get into things with this year and stuff, what are you feeling right now that we have football? Because you and I were depressed for a while. We didn't think we were going to have it. And so what emotions have you been going through lately?
So luckily we don't have to cheer on Clemson, right? Well, you may have to do your life, but
I get to. I'm married into it. I get to support her. I get to love her, and they're a phenomenal team, so I do enjoy it. Phenomenal. But it's not like rooting for Michigan.
That's right. So it's interesting because I listened to Adam Schefter's podcast, which I encourage anyone who, after you listen to this, he interviewed Nico Collins, and I really wanted to hear Nico's feelings on why he decided to opt out. And it brought the realization of he had the same up and downs that us as fans have, where it sounded like football was getting canceled, and it was canceled. Then there's whispers that was getting brought back, and the commissioner shut that down. And then the Big Ten realized, hey, everyone else is being able to do this. Let's figure this out. And it's a roller coaster. As dumb as Michigan football seems ancillary, it's really part of our lives, as long as I can remember. And it's something that you plan for when the air starts getting a little crispy,
Yes.
And without it, it would just make 2020 that much worse.
It really would, dude. Like I can't imagine. And for me, I haven't been able to concentrate this week because I'm like, something's gonna happen. Like something's gonna happen. Somebody's gonna steal the brown jug, the little brown jug. The brown jug's gonna have COVID on it. It's gonna transfer to Joe Milton. Something weird's gonna happen.
Well, you saw that Michigan just had the stay-at-home order.
Yeah.
But I love that immediately followed up was will not interfere with Michigan football.
Yes.
Like that's how it works. It didn't say it will not interfere with Sparty football or Western Michigan. It said will not interfere with Michigan football.
That's right. It said we are not canceling anything. And
that's right.
I'm excited, man. We have it this year, and dude, it's been a roller coaster even inside the Harbaugh era. He got hired in to really bring this program back. And if you look at Michigan, this is what I was telling Kyle, my brother. It was, look, Michigan football what makes them the greatest football program in history is that they have always been consistently good. Yes, we have 11 national titles. Most of those won a long time ago. We have a couple, or we have that one national title in '97. We have a lot of Big Ten championships. But what's made Michigan so great is they're consistently good. They're always having these 9-10 win seasons, which, we're not over that hump yet, but we're right where we've always been. We're just not beating Ohio State. And so
you're so right, Zach. So I looked at the Harbaugh era today. He's averaging 9.4 wins a season. The last time we had a 5-year stretch like that was over 10 years ago, which tells me Harbaugh's brought Michigan football back to where it needs to be, back to that consistent level of that 9-10 wins, just like you said. But to see that math even, of where it used to be, it just took him some time, and for him, we should not be as unhappy as we are. But we know that there's only one thing left that he really needs to do for us to feel like Michigan football's back.
And that's to beat Ohio State,
That's it.
I can guarantee you if he wins 10, maybe 11 games in a season, but beats Ohio State, dude, that puts us in the Big Ten championship. That puts us in a college football playoff. We can make the playoff as an 11-win team. You know what I mean? Say we drop a weird game during the season, but we beat Ohio State and we go to the Big Ten championship. We win that. We're going to be in the college football playoff. So really, he is right where Michigan football has been in the past, besides these last 10 years before he came here. But now the only thing that's missing is beating Ohio State. And we're right there, man. I think it's a mental gap over everything. I think it's Don Brown putting our defensive players in the best position to succeed. Look at Clemson. They only allowed 23 points from Ohio State last year. It's doable. And we have the talent to do the talent gap. The talent gap is not that big, and it's not that, separated of what people say. So we're right there. I really think this year could be the year. I mean, every year could be the year. We just have to put it together.
Right.
We just have to put it
Yeah.
together. But now we're focusing specifically on Minnesota, and we have them coming up this week. I want to hear your thoughts a little bit. What's running through your mind, your heart, emotions, biases, unbiases? What's going through your mind right now as we head to Minneapolis, and what's going to be a very cold game?
Yeah. So I'm not as optimistic as you are, but I am optimistic for this game. Harbaugh is 3-2 in his openers. And this really reminds me of the game we played against Florida, right? Where we opened up against Florida. Yes, we were ranked higher than Florida at the time, but we knew it was going to be a battle. So, we have our own question marks, but I think Minnesota has theirs as well. They lost Tyler Johnson and Rodney Smith. That's which equates to over 2,500 yards from scrimmage. Yes, Tanner Morgan's there, but on their defense, they lost Antoine Winfield, who was third on the team in sacks and third in the nation in interceptions, who's now with Tampa Bay. They lost their team leader in sacks in Carter Coughlin. So they have some question marks that they've got to figure out as well. And we know first game of the season, it's always down to how quickly can you figure those question marks out and make adjustments. And I think that's where Michigan has the edge, because we have, 2.5 running backs, because I want to see where Chris Evans is at game one with Charbonnet and with Haskins. We're going to be able to control the ball. We're going to allow Bazooka Joe to figure out and get comfortable who's going to be catching the ball. I really hope we see Ronnie Bell in the slot, which is where he's always been very successful. And honestly, I think it's going to be a tight game. Right now, last time I checked, Minnesota's a 1.5 favorite. I think that will swing to Michigan by Saturday. So I think Michigan's going to win by double digits.
Yeah, I think it's very.
And that's
fair.
me objectively looking at it.
And I think it's very. I mean, when you look at this roster, this is a roster to where it's like, oh, dude, Michigan should win by like 30, 40 points. Like, this is just a loaded team. But bringing the factor of, our defensive secondary, we don't know what that's going to look like. I know our front seven on the defense side of the ball is probably the best in the Big Ten. They are super strong. Our linebackers are great. We're signing more linebackers in the future. I was telling Kyle, you can call us linebacker U. We are a very loaded linebacker room. And then, too, on the offensive side of the ball for Minnesota, you have Tanner Morgan, you have Rashad Bateman. But besides those guys, you've lost a lot of production. And then PJ Fleck comes out this week, and he says, COVID's hit our team. We have a couple players sitting out. He didn't give their names, but it's coming out that two of their offensive linemen are not going to be able to play this weekend because of COVID. And so with that, no crowd, things I just think when you look at this specifically from we just need to put it on the field and execute. I just don't see how Michigan loses this game. I just don't see it. I think we're the better team. But what I really want to see is, even if we win by 10 points, like, I just want to see us play a good game. I want to see our defense dominate. I want to see Dax Hill perform really well. And dude, I'm excited. I'm excited to see Bazooka Joe. I mean, that's really the talk of the town here, because from what we're saying is we're a quarterback away from putting this thing over the edge, for putting this thing over the top and doing what we want to do, beating that disgusting team down south. And this is where it starts. How's Joe Milton going to do? What's your opinion on that?
Going back to the interview I was listening to about Nico, Nico had nothing but positive things to say. As bummed out as I am about him leaving, I once again encourage anyone who doesn't quite understand to listen to it, because it really gives a human side to it. But him talking about Joe Milton, Nico almost came back just for the sake of playing with someone like Joe Milton. He talks about his size. He says he's never played with a quarterback that large, that quick, and with that type of arm. I mean, think about that. Like Shea Patterson was not a slow guy. No. And he talks about how Milton's faster. And Joe Milton's got 5 inches and almost 60 pounds on him. So imagine that in a cold day in Minnesota coming at you. It's going to take more than one to tackle him.
Yeah. And people are going to call me crazy, keep drinking that Kool-Aid, that blue Kool-Aid. But I tell you, man, Joe, like PJ Fleck even said that Joe Milton is a once in a decade talent. This guy is super, super special. Justin Fields, I'm friends with some very diehard Georgia fans, and they said Justin Fields, when he transferred, there was videotapes of him cussing out coaches in the locker room because he wasn't getting enough playing time. And really, he didn't start over Jake Fromm because the dude didn't know how to call a play. And so you go to Ohio State, and the guy's got tremendous talent. Don't get me wrong. Justin Fields is tremendous. But when you're talking about him, like he's in a very easy Ryan Day offense to where you have to maybe make 2 or 3 decisions. And hopefully the teams like Michigan have stupid coverages set up to where you're going to be able to put points on them. But besides that, let's see how Justin Fields does in the NFL, because I can guarantee you right now it's not going to pan out maybe the way that people are thinking. So, and I don't want to be negative towards the guy. I'm just looking at comparing him to Joe Milton. You look at Joe Milton, this is a guy who has more of a Trevor Lawrence type build. This is a guy who has more of a Trevor Lawrence mentality, the way that he's smart with the ball, his arm strength, the tangibles that he has. I just see that really, in my eyes, and obviously we haven't even seen him play a game yet, that I could put him in comparison or even over Justin Fields in his confidence.
So first off, Zach, you should never apologize about talking poorly about Ohio teams, Ohio players. And two, also with Joe, think about it. He's got some amazing security blankets to throw it to. Ronnie Bell up the slant. Nick Eubanks, I think, is going to be really, really big for the offense this year. I think he's going to just provide an outlet for him quite a bit. And then having Chris Evans back. Chris Evans is a great pass catcher that I think is really going to open things up for him as well.
Yeah, man, it's a loaded running back room with Bazooka Joe back there with a very athletic offensive line. Dude, I'm excited. I'm excited to see this offense roll. I think and I tell you what too, watch out for AJ Henning. Watch out for AJ Henning, because he kind of reminds me of an Amari Rodgers maybe, who plays for Clemson. He's not the tallest guy, and he's got to build into himself a little bit with weight and stuff, but I can see this guy as a go-to receiver on the outside, man. Like he's the dude's a complete stud, and I think you're going to see.
And with Cornelius Johnson, you do have a little bit of size there, right? He's 6'3". He still is going to give that Harbaugh go route or potential goal line type guy just to take off some of the pressure. Because look, we've talked about the number ones, the wide receivers in Michigan. We're not used to the short guys, and we don't know how to react to it yet. But we're excited to see what's going to happen with it.
Yeah. A fun fact I just remembered I read the other day. Thank goodness for Twitter. I'm able to read a bunch of history that I never knew before. But going back to Ohio State, 2 things about Ohio State is, one, I don't know why they call themselves the Ohio State when there's no other Ohio State in the state of Ohio. It's just another Ohio State, I guess, or you know what I mean? Another, like, I don't know why it is. Like Kirk Herbstreit doesn't even claim them to be the Ohio State. He said that was stupid, that's something that they just previously came up with. So I don't know.
All right.
That's number one. And number 2, some fun history is, and this is more myth, but there's a picture of it, that dome that Ohio State has in the horseshoe before you walk in. You can see that it's like kind of blue and maize like plates in there, a little bit distinguished a little bit. And you're like, okay, what's up with that? Well, I guess when they dedicated the stadium in the 1920s, when they first built it, the bet was that if Michigan beat them, that they would have to put those maize and blue plates up in that dome. And so you see that picture, and Michigan really dedicated that stadium for them by whipping their butts in the opener against them. And so I just thought that was pretty cool for all the Ohio State fans that may never listen to this, but if you do, you're going to hate us afterwards.
Well, we're used to it.
Yeah, we're used to it. But so I think we can expect a lot from this weekend. It's going to be fun. It's going to be cold. I'm excited to sink the boat that PJ Fleck has. What else are you thinking when it comes to this Saturday?
Yeah, so I'm not expecting a very exciting game. If you're expecting Joe Milton to throw the ball, 25 to 30 times, I think you're going to be wrong. Yeah. I think we're going to be running the ball a lot. Yeah. So my prediction is we run the ball over 200 yards, but I think Joe throws the ball for $150, 180 yards, just enough to keep the defense honest. But at the same time, get them comfortable and just let the big guys run, man. You know, let them do their jobs and get that offensive line gelling, right?
Yeah.
Offensive linemen love when you run the ball. Give them an opportunity to figure it out and communicate. And, you know, it's weird for us to talk about Minnesota like it's a competition because, you know, us growing up, like the Brown Jug wasn't much of a rivalry.
No, it was just we always had the Brown Jug. We never, you know what I mean?
That's right.
Until the dark eras to where we gave it up, obviously. But besides that, like we always had it, you know? We always had it.
So that was my trigger that Rich Rod had to go. It was when, like, all right, we're losing the Brown Jug now?
Yeah. Come on, dude. Get out of here, man.
Yeah.
It was definitely not a good time. Still brings nightmares. But yeah, man. And you make a great point. So this is another thing, and this is, I guess, is when we get into maybe our what's it going to take for Michigan to win the Big Ten. We're starting in the middle of October or at the end of October. We're playing a very cold season up in the north, up in the Midwest. It's going to be very cold. What's going to win us a championship is by running the football, by taking care of the football. I think when it comes to looking more of like an old school team and taking care of the ball, you're not going to be able to air it out in snowy, rainy, wet, cold, freezing conditions like you're used to. And I think that's where Michigan has the edge, not just this weekend, but even throughout the conference, even against a team like Ohio State. Because if it's bad weather on December 12th, I would put our offensive running game up against Ohio State's defense, and I'd put our defensive front against the running game anytime. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard ball, I guess you can say it. Smash mouth football up the middle. And it just brings me back to the Notre Dame game last year. Freezing cold.
Yep.
What do? We ran the football. We pounded the rock, and we really bruised Notre Dame. I mean, we made them look silly. Just physically, we totally demanded the whole game. And so I think you're onto something with this weekend. It's going to be colder. We don't expect Joe Milton, even though I want to see Joe Milton throw for 1,000 yards in one game and 200 touchdowns, win the Heisman off of the first game. We have to be realistic and say, look, this is his first game, keeping the defense honest, but we're going to use what we have because in the end, your offensive line needs as much work as they can get because once it comes to December 12th and we're playing that team in Ohio, we're going to need those boys to come up big in cold weather, and that is running and pounding the rock. And so I think
I wouldn't be surprised, though, early in the first quarter if Harbaugh just wants to see what old Bazooka's got and just let one fly.
I mean, you might as well. Honestly, if it's my opinion, if I'm running this team right now, which is a good thing I'm not, but if I am, I'm calling maybe a slant route the first play of the game. I'm calling maybe something to even if it's just an easy completion to settle the nerves and have them be like, man, I can do this. Cool. Awesome. And take a shot downfield early. The dude can throw a 70-yard pass. The offensive line obviously has to block for a really long time.
Right.
But let the dude turn it loose and don't be afraid to do it. And then you can establish some more things with the run game. But the earlier you get his confidence built up, man, it's only going to help this guy continue to excel. And so so this is Minnesota week, but now I want to kind of look at the whole season. We have Sparty week 2. I feel bad for those guys. It's not going to be good.
No.
You can never be safe with a rival game, but they're just bad. They're really bad.
And unfortunately for those guys too, you know, D'Antoni's gone. Yeah. But unfortunately the all the statements that D'Antonio made over the years, like we have a lot of aggression to take out on little brother.
Yeah. And it's going to happen. Yeah, it's not going to be good. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was 10 years from now and we haven't lost a game to Michigan State.
No, and still, you know, going for 2 late in game, like whatever statements, because that's one thing I love about Harbaugh is he never forgets.
Oh, he never forgets. And I'm going to tell you right now, what he's never going to forget is Ryan Day talking trash like he did this offseason.
That's right.
When Harbaugh called him out on a Zoom call, and he said, look, man, you're doing some things that aren't right since we're all here. You know, let's hold one of another accountable a little bit. And Ryan Day didn't like that and made the comments to his team like, you know, we're going to hang 100 on the Wolverines if the Big Ten doesn't have a mercy rule. He's going to remember that. And if it's a snowy, awful game to where we're just pounding the rock, I hope we just smash it down their throats, dude. I hope. Yeah. But what's your predictions for the overall Big Ten season? Again, if it's a normal year, we're thinking, okay, that last game of the season, right until we win that game, we can't confidently say we're going to win this game. because it's hard. But now that we're playing in a pandemic, we're playing in snowier conditions, colder conditions later in the season. What's your predictions for this year for the Michigan Ball Club, and what's a win at the end of the season? What's going to be okay, I feel good about where we're going. Where do we need to be at?
Yeah, so I made a little chart for myself to think about this. So we already talked about in 5 years, Harbaugh averages 9.4 wins a season. That's 72.3% of the games he wins. So I put the standard for an average season at 6 wins, right? So at 72.3, we're expected 6.5 wins. So 6 would be average.
Okay.
A good season would be 7. If we get 7-1, an excellent season, I would consider 7 wins, but we beat that team down south.
Yeah.
And then obviously the amazing season is we run the table.
Man, how cool would that be? December 12th at about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we're celebrating, we're crying because we just beat Ohio State. The tables have turned, and we're heading to Indianapolis. Like, man.
That's it.
It's like Christmas morning, dude.
But yeah, man, I'm hoping we get to have the same conversation talking about how are we going to beat Minnesota the second time, because I anticipate Minnesota is going to win their division, and because that division is pretty awful.
It's not good. And in Wisconsin, with their starting quarterback getting hurt, now I am hearing their backup quarterback does bring some things to the table that Cohan doesn't bring, as far as being more elusive and being more mobile, I guess, outside the pocket. How well is that going to do for them? Wisconsin is the team that they've been for the past 100 years. They run the ball, and so and they don't have Jonathan Taylor. So again, I'm picking Minnesota, and that I say always watch out for Iowa. You never know if they're going to have their team ready, but I'm going to pick either Minnesota or Wisconsin in that division to run the table. And I'm going to branch out a little bit, and I'm going to make a bold statement and say I think Penn State is very overrated this year. I think I think, and I'm looking at what they have. Their star defensive players opting out this season. KJ Hamler went to the draft. That's all they had last year. You're not going to build an offense anymore off of a tight end, Frankenmuth or whatever his name is. Like, I just don't. I just don't. I don't see them being the team like everybody's talking about. This playoff team, this team that has the best chance to knock off Ohio State. I just don't see it, man. I just don't. But you know what? I like it because they're in the position right now that Michigan usually is, where everybody's hyping them up, and it's allowing us to kind of just flow right under the radar and just start tearing teams up. And I hope we dismantle Penn State. I hope we dismantle Wisconsin. I hope we're 7-0 going into Ohio State with still a chip on our shoulder, because I think it could very well happen. And so I'm just nervous, man. But overall, Harbaugh's a great coach. The guy's a great guy. He loves football. He loves the University of Michigan.
And what I love about him is his self-awareness of the need for change.
Yes.
Right. And I hope we get to see that hybrid. I thought he swung a little bit too far the other way last year, on 3rd and 1, running a jet sweep on certain things. Look, dude, probably my favorite player on the roster right now is Ben Mason. Ben Mason is a guaranteed 2.5, 3 yards no matter what. And he's a psycho. So I hope we get to see more of that. I know he was banged up last year. So, if we could see that hybrid of the spread with some classic Michigan, it would be awesome.
I heard they have him at tight end a little bit, which is unique because I think they're using the tight ends more blocking from that hybrid style offense that they have, which it could be very beneficial for him on the edge, just knocking dudes out. The dude is pretty athletic, so I think giving him an opportunity. But when it comes down to it, look, Ben Mason, or Bench Mason, what they call him, the dude who smacked somebody so hard in the Nebraska game a couple years ago, he had blood coming down from his forehead. He's going to be a fullback in the NFL. The dude's going to go probably play for New England. He's going to be a fullback. He's going to be a Corey Schlesinger type player, and he's going to have a good 8, 9, 10 years in the NFL, make a bunch of money, and I'm probably going to buy his jersey wherever he lands. And so I love Ben Mason, dude. He's awesome. But yeah, again, as we're closing out here, I think there's a lot of exciting things to look forward to. when it comes to our receivers, again, I want to reiterate, we're going to be okay. With Nico Collins opting out, we still have a very loaded receiver room. I think Donovan Peoples-Jones leaving was probably best. I think, as bad as this sounds, I think they may have held the future of the Michigan receiving corps back a bit because there just wasn't enough productivity happening from those receivers. And they're going to be great NFL receivers. I just think the way that Michigan's offense is gearing towards right now, I feel like people like Ronnie Bell and Sandstrom and Jackson, those people, their production's being held back a little bit because of Donovan Peoples-Jones and Nico Collins. And they really didn't get targeted too much last year anyway, which is weird.
No, Ronnie Bell led the team in receptions and yardage last year.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And as many,
I didn't know that until I saw it.
Yeah, it's wild. In that Penn State game, I mean, you look at that, he was the only reason why we were in that game. I mean, Ronnie Bell was a hero, and yeah, he dropped that last pass, which I think there's some pass interference stuff happening in the end zone. But yeah, man, I'm excited for the season. I think it's going to be a good year. Kyle and I get hyped up. We said we're going 8-0. We're beating Ohio State, and we're going to win a Big Ten championship and go to the college football playoff. And so that's my prediction.
So I want you to. So I didn't realize this. You know how many times Michigan's gone undefeated since I've been alive, since 1990?
Once.
Twice.
Okay.
So it was 1997, obviously.
Yeah.
And I believe it was 1993 when they went 9-0.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Well,
yeah. So
I've only been alive for
number 3.
Yeah, I've only been alive for one of those. And the reason why I'm saying undefeated is because we're playing an 8-game schedule. So I think if we're playing a 12-game schedule, it's like, look, I don't expect to go undefeated, but I want to beat Ohio State and I want to get in the college football playoff to possibly win a natty. But this year, because of an 8-game schedule, the teams that are lined up, I think I'm calling an 8-0 season. Where do you land? If you're going to make a bold prediction right now, I think it was a really good. Your calculations are on point, and with you saying 7-1 with a big win against Ohio State, putting us in the conference championship, I'd be happy with that.
See, and that's exactly where I'm leaning at. I'm leaning at 7-1. We beat the tar out of the boys down south.
Yep.
But our schedule is rough.
It is.
We have one of the tougher Big Ten schedules. And I think realistic, I think someone will trip us up. And I think it's going to be one of the teams we don't expect.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope not. It could be Indiana. I think it could possibly be Indiana. Those boys they usually play some good football against Michigan. And I just hope that, the good thing is it's not right before Ohio State. I think we're playing like Rutgers or Maryland or some team like that before Ohio State. So hopefully that can give us a week to really prepare for the team down south. But yeah, as far as Indiana goes, I think if we're going to drop any game this year, that's one I would say look out for. But anyway, man, it's great having you here. Another edition of the Gulo. I really, dude, I value your Michigan intelligence and your love for our university. And man, I'm excited for this season. I can't wait for us to be on this again. We're going to have you back on, and we're either going to be super excited and we're going to be making some very crazy predictions because we're 1 or 2 or 3-0, or we're going to be sobbing, and it's going to be a time to where we're going to need our wives to come in here and counsel us on an episode. So
yeah, man. No, I appreciate you having me and let me just spit off some of my feelings for this season.
Yeah, man. Well, we're looking forward to it, and go Blue, and let's hope we walk away this weekend with a victory.
That's it, man. Go Blue.
Go Blue.